Hello, everybody, and welcome back to KXP, where we explore the cosmos in third person. I'm so excited to get back into it. It feels like ages since we've done one of our regularly scheduled type of episodes where we just go and push the boundaries and explore space. In the last episode, we did kind of like a little side mission, joint effort with the POV crowd, but now it is back to solely our efforts, and today, as you may have noticed from the title, we are aiming to put our own space station up in orbit. The POV crowd before I took the break, that's what they ended up doing instead of landing on Midmiss, and we took the opportunity to squeak ahead in the space race. So technically we could head out to Duna or Eve or any of the other places in this episode, but I decided to give them a fair chance at a cool project as well, since they took the time to earn the science that allowed us to do what we did in the last episode with the rocket car. So instead of aggressively pursuing more milestones and more achievements, we're going to take a second and let them catch up, so in the following episode they can take their own shot at landing on Midmiss. So we are going to create our space station. It is going to be a bit more advanced. We don't need to have all the bits and pieces, all the cabins that they did, because of the fact that we don't need to enter IVA mode at all. We don't need to care about what's connected to what, or what we can pass through, or what would be cool to look at on the inside. All we care about is where it's going and what's cool to look at on the outside. So we are just going to fill these containers with life support. The one above that I talked through has things like recyclers and things to break down the waste products and turn them into more resources to extend the Kerbal's stay, because after all, we are playing with TAC life support. I'm just trying to stack in as much as I can to even it out so we can stay for 3 years before needing a replenish of materials. Unfortunately, the pieces don't add evenly, and my wastewater was significantly lacking, so I added these two big ones on the side, but I am going to clip them in with the idea that they were built into the structure itself. We are going to need a reaction wheel on this. It's going to be an unwieldy thing. We turned around the science mobile processing lab, because notoriously backwards in the way that I like to build. We put on this control probe. It's not a probe core, but that gives us the ability of unlocking all angles that we can unlock to, including our maneuver nodes, which will be helpful as we are planning to use this space station for a long time. Hopefully we can reuse it in several places. But we are getting ahead of ourselves here. All we need to do is get it up into orbit and then over on to the Mun. We decided not to bring it to Midmiss in respects to the fairness of the space race. We're going to let POV have Midmiss, and we are going to orbit this around the Mun. We don't have access to very high technology on our vacuum engines, unfortunately, so I play around with 4 Terriers, but it just does not give us the thrust to weight that I want, and the Delta V is significantly lacking. So I scroll down through the miscellaneous engines and find the Marlin, which is a large vacuum rated engine from the Near Futures mod. So I tack that on there, and that gives us a little over 1400 Delta V. I throw some RCS onto it to help maneuver in deep space, because this is quite the boat and will be a challenge. But the more challenging aspect right now is we're going to need to provide it with a lot of electricity in order to power all of the science that's going to be done. And the Mun has a particularly brutal dark side on it, and so unfortunately we did not have access to very good solar panel tech either. The max that we can do is 1.6 per second, which is significantly lacking, considering that we are wanting to go orbital or go interplanetary. We're not going to be able to go interplanetary on these basic solar panels, so all the more reason why taking time to set up a space station is, I think, a good idea. So let's stack as many batteries in here as possible to give it the best chance of survival as possible. Even with all that, and if I were to double it up, it would do better, but even after all that, we're still going to run out of power on the dark side, at least for a little bit. But I come up with a solution for that in flight, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. For now, let's put on some communication dishes, point them towards Kerbin and mission control, because after all, we are using remote tech, so you got to be a little more specific with your communication dishes. But after all that, it is ready to start test flying, so we're going to put this in orbit of the Kerbin, see if we can get to the Mun. Turns out that we don't get the remote tech's flight computer with that avionics, so we're going to put an actual probe core in there and once again bury that into the side. We also didn't have all of the Kerbals on board that we needed in that test flight, so we're going to put them back inside the craft, so that way we can get an accurate test of not just our weight but our life support usage, and put it back once again for simulation. So it can get into the orbit of the Mun pretty decently, but we do need to put a station core on there because unfortunately we didn't satisfy the contract in our test flight because we were missing that part. I don't know what it is. I don't really think I need to use it for anything. We're not really going to expand the space station very much. It's not very modular. This is solely to get an idea of what we can achieve from the science and just kind of give ourselves a little boost before we start going interplanetary, because we're going to need to be making some modular things at that point. So for now, we can just do something a little simple. Tacking on some science experiments on the side. We're going to be picking up the data as we go along. I don't really have a lot of plans to put more probes or land more Kerbals on the Mun, gather the science there, bring it up to the space station. That's what POV was thinking about doing with the Minmus space station. But for now, I think this is just to kind of absorb up all the science it can get, do all the research it can get, and then eventually we will send out a rescue mission, grab our Kerbals, bring them home, maybe decommission the space station, or maybe leave it as a relic to the program. But nonetheless, this is just basically a short-term endeavor, so it doesn't need to be all that complex. But we do need a large, heavy booster, heavy lifter to bring us into space. It is quite the space station, but we now have access to the Pila engine, which is one of my favorites. That's from Ven's new parts. Unfortunately, we have to use restock for a handful of the mods that we have in our system, but I much prefer Ven's recoloring of the parts, but unfortunately the dependencies require restock because that is crowd favorite, but Ven's is pretty awesome as well. But thankfully you can add Ven's parts without needing to have the recoloring, so therefore we get the Pila. And the Pila is I wouldn't say overpowered because it does take you quite a while to get there, but you unlock engines with more thrust to weight after the Pila. It's just still just more there's a lot of control with it. There's a lot of push. I don't know, I can't explain it. But anyways, we have our rocket basically in order. We're going to do a test flight here. We're going to realize that we could use with a little more fuel, so we're going to put on a fuel duct on there. We're going to lower the gimbals on all of our engines because it gets fairly wobbly in space. And we need to put on some radiators because our engine bell exploded once it got too hot during one of the maneuvers, so it's just worthwhile to keep that from happening. We're taking off the scanning tech. We had some remote tech pieces on there I forgot to mention when we were putting on the science, but we took that off. We're going to put on this atmospheric fluid spectral analysis, and we're going to get the atmospheric science as we exit Kerbin. Removing all of the parachutes from everyone except for the pilot, because the pilot always likes to have one. And then we are ready to go. So on a rainy day with 4 Kerbals in the craft, we are ready to go. I did unfortunately forget to set our mission flag to the Mun. It's still set as Kerbin, but that's okay. Like I mentioned, it's not a long-term endeavor. Nothing too important. Just enough to give POV crowd a little bit of time to come up with something good, and we'll both start attempting interplanetary together, and I think that's pretty fair. They have a tough run of things, Started off the series caught cheating, moved out to the desert, so now they have a weird inclination anytime they launch. Their runway has a big old bump in it. It's hard for them to launch some planes, so there's no need to be unfair. So run the atmospheric analysis, put it into the science lab. I tried to run it again and send the data, but we don't have any antennas on there that can transmit. I should have just put a little small non-deployable antenna on there. I didn't even think about it, but nonetheless, we can store that science in the station core. Oddly enough, the thing that I didn't think we would ever need, but that's where we can store it for now, because we are going to be losing it once we drop that lower stage. There's no need to keep it on us while we float it around the Mun, but I did want the science. So there we go, we got our burn to circularize. As you can see, we don't have enough fuel, but that is only because we're still in the atmosphere, and the game is calculating that we won't have enough. But once we hit the barrier of space, as you can see now, that changes. We now have plenty, and we'll be circularizing soon, then heading to the Mun. So now we have some time to talk, because the circularization, this isn't really anything new, but it was nice to see it after what feels like weeks since doing an actual mission. It was nice to watch and nice to play through. So we'll continue with that on the screen, but the idea moving forward is to go interplanetary, as I mentioned before. But I typically, the typical path is to go to Duna first. I don't know why, I just always feel like that's the next logical move. However, I've decided that for the series, the Janus project going forward, POV isn't required to go to the same places that KXP do. We're going to actually go to different planets in each of the episodes, different moons, different places. We're going to have different focuses on our programs, and I think that's the best way to see who can really achieve the goal of planting a flag on every celestial body first, and it's not to keep it up as a race where I landed on Duna first, and then now they have to scramble to land on Duna, and then I can get out of there and land on Eve, and now they have to figure out how to scramble off Duna and then get to Eve, and at that point it's more of a chase than a race. And I feel that different ideologies have different goals and different approaches to the problem of space flight, and so therefore something like landing on Duna might be relatively easy for me, but significantly more complicated for them. And so that's how we're going to do it. So if you have any suggestions or want to see any particular place for us to go, and I mean, Duna is still on the table, we can still go there, that's not a problem. That's just my example, because I keep going there first. But let me know in the comments below if you have a suggestion for where the KXP crowd should go. I am going to try to keep POV, the idea of where I'm going to go for there, to myself, because Like I mentioned, it's more of a significant challenge when you do it in first person. But we successfully completed a mini contract that we had to transmit some data from around space. I don't know how long we've had that, but it's nice to see it done. So now I have our scientists out on EVA resetting the experiments, even though we can do that on the inside, but he was also able to grab an EVA report that we can put into the lab. And every time I got back into the craft, the shuttle would kind of do this little roll. I think from the torque of the Kerbal opening the door and getting back in. I thought that was pretty fun. So we took the EVA report, put it into the mobile processing lab, and now it is just a matter of orbiting the planet long enough to complete the contract, because you have to do it for, I think, about 3 days, 2 days, something like that. So we're just going to time warp our way around, let it activate as the Kerbin space station, and then we can just move on from there, because the game will allow us to take this same craft and bring it to the Mun as well. So with that contract completed, we can now turn our sights on our final resting place and plot in our maneuver. So we target it first, and then at roughly the right angle, we just kind of eyeball it here, pull out our prograde until we reach an interception. And there we have it. So now we have an impact trajectory, but that's not a problem. I decided while I was doing my test flights that I wanted to come in at a polar orbit. As I mentioned before, I had some ScanSat technology that was going to help, but we took that off because we couldn't get it just wasn't feasible. I decided it wasn't worth it. However, keeping the polar orbit was, because as you see here, we're going to significantly limit, if not completely eliminate, our dark side entirely, because we are going to be coming into a place where we'll always have access to the sunlight, and therefore we'll never actually have a dark side. Very, very helpful for things like this when you have very low tech solar panels, but you're trying to do high tech things like mobile processing lab, science hall, basically. So you know, tips and tricks if you're doing something like this. If it doesn't need to be an equatorial orbit, then maybe go for a polar. Like, equatorial orbit would be good here if I was, planning on having more landers to land on the Mun and, grab a bunch of science and rendezvous in orbit with the station. Equatorial would be ideal, I believe. I mean, debatable. You could actually say a polar orbit would be better, because eventually that satellite will be, or that station will be above you at some point. You may have to wait for it, but it will be there. But nonetheless, we're going to go polar here because of the fact that we just have such limited battery capability, and this will be a way to keep the lights on. So now our maneuver is set, 800 and some odd Delta V to take us out there. It is a pretty funky but streamlined looking space station. I kind of enjoy it. Typically I have things that are more modular, or when dealing with POV. Oh, hi KC. Hi Island Runway. Nice to see ya. We'll see you in about 3 years. But anyways, I like to do things more modular or with better interiors, so you have stuff to walk or float around in and look at things. But we just need this to perform a function, so it can be very utilitarian. So we're finishing up our burn, pushing out our apoapsis, coming into contact with the Mun. We pass over our desired bit just a little bit, but not enough to really care about. And because we were going to make a mid-course correction anyways, because obviously we don't want to come in at an impact trajectory. But we do need to come in fairly low. Unfortunately, the contract requires us to be below 60 kilometers. So we're just going to aim for 47, which is will you know, it's not a problem, but if I had gone a little bit higher, I could have had a slightly better time of things, but we'll get there soon enough. Anyways, we have our maneuver plotted into Remote Tech's flight computer, so we can go ahead and time warp our way out there and get started. It's only 13.4 meters per second of a burn, and only 0.7 seconds of that will be lighting the ignition. So I decided to cancel that in Remote Tech, turn down the thrust. So now we have a 7-second burn, which is a lot more manageable. Replotted that into Remote Tech's flight computer and pushed on forward. We didn't really need the avionics hub. You know, we're letting Remote Tech handle a lot of this, but you know, we worked hard to get our communications to where they're at now. I like that little green glow when you do low thrust burns with the Marlin engine. But anyways, putting our thrust back up, circularizing at the periapsis, only to realize that we are significantly short in delta V. I don't know how I missed this. In my simulations, it didn't have this problem. Maybe it was a bad ascent profile, or I mean, I don't even know. But that is a lot less delta V than I had prepared for. But nonetheless, we are resourceful, so we're gonna go ahead and do the science in space high above Kerbin. A lot of it we've done before. Some of them was new that we could have actually transmitted. Go ahead and EVA report, restore our items. But this is all good science to put into the science lab and get started processing on our journey over there. We're going to collect as much as we can with as little effort as possible. And then we will call it there. We'll still be able to get several rounds of data through, and each round produces 500 science for us, so we should be able to utilize this to really get our science or our technology up to snuff in order to actually go interplanetary, because it was shocking to see what certain parts that we were missing. It was shocking to see that. It's like, how have we gotten so far and not unlocked, you know, better solar panels? I don't understand that. But nonetheless, that won't be a problem soon. But anyways, now it is time. We're going to plot in our maneuver into flight computer, even though there is no way that we are going to complete it. Nonetheless, it will be able to burn the 266 meters per second that we need. So, the unfortunate thing is, we are going to be living with our consequences. If we don't have enough delta V to circularize, then we're going to have to figure out how to get our Kerbals home. If we do have enough to circularize, but not enough to get down to our desired orbit, then we will not be able to complete this contract, not with this station anyways, and so we'll have to send up a refueler to give it enough fuel to complete the maneuver. Let's go ahead and grab the science in space high above the Mun. Again, a lot of it we've grabbed, a few of it we haven't, but all of it will be good to study in the lab. Let's go ahead and restore those, collect our EVA report yet again. So we reviewed the data, and we could transmit it because of that we haven't gotten that before, but by storing it in the mobile processing lab, it will give us 100 points of data, which will turn into a significantly larger amount of science. But however, we can just hop out again and grab another one and give that to the KSC. We're going to perform all science, and once again, anything new that we have, we're just going to transmit. We're actually going to just hit transmit on all of them, because the one that doesn't give us any science won't do anything. So it's not a problem, but let's go ahead and get them back into the craft. and ready to keep going. And we're going to do that again in space low above the mun. So let's just go ahead and time warp our way over there. We're still not in space low, but we're close enough that I can start working on my secret plan. And now is the time to fill y'all in. So we don't have enough fuel to burn, rocket fuel, to get us there, but we do have some RCS. So now here's to hoping that the amount of rocket fuel that we have can close the loop on our orbit. And then it's going to be annoying, it's going to be tedious, but we can close the distance with our RCS. That's the goal anyways. And if we can't do that, then we're going to have to figure out something else to do, because this mission might be scrapped and these Kerbals may be stranded for a while, but they do have 3 years of life support, so we do have some time to get them. So I'm just holding forward on the keys to keep us moving forward against our retrograde, give ourselves the best chances possible, but then our flight computer takes over, burns the last of our fuel, and that is it. But our apoapsis is indeed in an elliptical orbit around the mun, so we are not going to be sent off into space. We're not going to be crash landing back on Kerbin. We are not going to be lost in the depths of interplanetary space. No, we are just going to have to spend a lot of time holding down the forward key on our number pad in order to get us there. But we can do it, and it will, as long as we have enough monopropellant. I did not plan for this in the slightest, but we do have a large tank there. We can go ahead and do all of the science aboard and put it all into the mobile processing lab. However, we're going to wait on getting our scientists out until we can come around for another loop, because I don't want to waste any of this time that I could using the RCS. However, we passed our periapsis significantly to the point where we should just go ahead and come around for a second pass and start doing that again. Kerbals are excited. They know that no matter what happens, even if the mission fails, they're not going to die. So it's always a good thing. But they really do want to get this mission done, because this was a significant amount of time testing, building the craft, testing the craft, getting here. I didn't do any quick saves during this time. Like, whatever we could get done, whatever happened is what happened and what we'll live with. So it was a little, as much annoying as it was stressful as well, but enjoyable. It had been a bit since I'd done an actual Kerbal mission, with Wednesday's tutorial, with Monday's, little race, with Friday's build, and then the whole week prior, I hadn't been able to play any Kerbal because I was on my trip. But yeah, I'm excited. During my trip, I was thinking about different missions that we could do, different things that we can try in both KXP and POV. And so, yeah, I'm excited to get back to it. So as you see here, it's a little at a time, but we are indeed bringing our apoapsis down. It's just a matter of firing the whole time. I could have done this in physics warp, but when you bring on physics warp, you sometimes summon the Kraken, and I just didn't want to risk them needlessly, because I had the time to press down and go, so I can just I can just be patient. Sometimes patience is a virtue in this game. You could do something faster, so you could make something happen quicker, but if you just wait a few seconds, you could do it right. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to keep pressing forward with our RCS, pointed retrograde. We're going to bring down our apoapsis actually pretty significantly. I mean, this is like, what, 20 kilometers per pass, something like that? Maybe a little more. That's about 30 now. Actually, can't remember what we started on here, but nonetheless, I wanted to include all of the footage here because this was kind of a challenge here to get into orbit just using the RCS. I wanted to show you that I did indeed do it on the first pass. We can see some of our remote tech lines narrowing as one of our satellites, I guess, is passing over us. I think that's what's going on at the top of the screen. Now at 141 kilometers above the surface and falling. We are getting there. We need to be below 60 on both our apoapsis and our periapsis, and we need to orbit for 2 days, but that won't be an issue. Actual orbiting is not the issue, it's just getting there. And as I'm seeing these numbers slowly approach the 100 kilometer mark, I actually get excited. I think this is going to work. I think we have enough monopropellant to make it happen. And, even if we don't work, we're close enough to our goal, we could get a Kerbal out and push. So, pretty happy with how that all came together. 93 kilometers. Closing in on mission. Well, the next step of the mission anyways. I don't want to get ahead of myself. 83, 82. Map view was just a little bit easier. We got to have a lot more visual cues of our approach than in third person. So I appreciated that. So now we're at 67. Just gotta finish the last little push here. 62, 61, 60. And now the time begins for our orbit. That's all we need to do. And see, like I mentioned before, if I had just brought my periapsis up a little bit, I would have been able to save myself, I don't know, like 30 seconds of headache. But with that, we have successfully completed the launch of the Munar space station contract, and we are in full communication with Kerbin and in full sunlight the entire way, so we will not have a dark side that we're going to need to fight through. We have enough battery and ways to produce power that it will combat all of the electricity used in the mobile processing lab. So this thing is good to go. It has all the science data it needs to last several years worth of work to produce 500 science per bout. We're going to go ahead and time warp our way to produce that first set of 500, so that way when we start off the next episode, we can unlock a few more things, get a little bit better stuff, and figure out what we're going to do. And I think it is going to be interplanetary in nature. I want to get out there in deep space. I want to see new places. Maybe it'll be a moon of sorts, something easy that I can land on. Maybe I'll do a flyby. We'll definitely work with Strategia and get a program going, I think. So it might be a probe thing. I don't feel confident sending Kerbals interplanetary just yet because we do indeed want to keep them, and with TAC life support, they have to be really considered. Their life support needs need to be considered. We do have a cryogenics mod installed, so we may have to unlock that before we send Kerbals out there, because if we can freeze them and keep them in stasis until we get there, that would be even better. But without the science, a lot of that becomes impossible. So we're gonna take it one step at a time, baby steps, as a man named Bob once said. Bob Kerman, that is. But anyways, in the next episode for POV, they are going to indeed conquer Midness. I have faith in them. I know that they can do it. in one shot now. Plant a flag, get their Kerbals back. They're gonna do great stuff. So we're gonna let them go ahead and conquer Mid-Myth, so that way we can both approach the next step in the Janus project together. I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to see what they come up with as well. So once again, yeah, leave me a comment. Let me know, where do you want me to go? Duna? Do you want me to go to Eve? We can go to different moons of Jewel. I'm not gonna do the Jewel 5 just yet. That's a whole other thing, but we can definitely go explore Jewel, especially with the volumetric clouds. I'm very excited, and I hope you are as well. And I want to say a big thanks again to everyone who subscribed and got me to that 1,000 milestone. That was amazing to see. And, thank you to anyone who's not subscribed. If you've watched this far, I appreciate that. And you've made this that much possible as well. All of y'all have inspired me to keep going and making this thing that I have so much fun doing. I have so much fun editing and producing and seeing your reaction to. So, once again, thank you very much. But anyways, that is where I'm going to leave today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for more KXP. If you did think about subscribing, drop me a like, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.